Well, good morning. It's Qi here. I'm about to introduce Angela from Ronovationz. So we'll leave Angela here to have a great time with you talking about why property, why now. Here we go with Angela.
Okay, thank you, Qi, and thank you everyone for joining me for today's webinar. Today's topic we will talk about why should we choose property as your investment vehicle and why should you start taking action now. A bit of a disclaimer that I'm a coach of Ronovationz. We're helping people to invest in residential properties to achieve their financial freedom. But we are not financial advisors, and the information has been given today is based on, it's very generic. It's nothing, it's not really for particularly to yourself. So if you have any particular questions, please consult with us or consult with your lawyer and your accountant before taking any actions. Cool. So why should we choose property for investment? As we all know that apart from property investment, there are other vehicles you can choose to grow your money, like a fund, like a stock market, mutual fund, and foreign exchanges, and maybe invest in gold and silver. Why should you choose property over other ones? Okay, so the key thing is in property is maybe the only property vehicle, investment vehicle you can use for leverage. So for leverage, what I mean is you can using other people's money. If you're buying a property, if it's your owner-occupied home, you can borrow up to 80%. Or you're buying like an investment property, you can borrow up to 70% or even more if you're going with non-bank lenders. So that means you can use majority of other people's money to create your own wealth. The second thing you can leverage is other people's time. So for the property investment, after you have bought a property, you can hire professional traders who do the renovation for you, and after that you can hire professional property managers who will look after the property for you, where you can use your own time more wisely. You can either spend more time with your family and friends, and spend more time in your own business, where you can create more cash flow, can help you to invest more in property, or you can use the time to find the next good deal, which will give you really good return in the long term. So here you don't need to, it's not really like a trade of your own time. You need to trade your time to get the result. So this is one of the leverage we're talking about here. The other thing is for property investment, you can leverage with other people's experiences. When we first started, all of us, we don't know what we don't know. We don't know how. We want to start it, but we don't know how. So this, like us, like myself and other coaches of Ronovationz, we have been doing this day in, day out. And combined with all the coaches and the founder, Ronovationz himself, so we combined with more than 100 years investing in the Auckland property market. So by leveraging our experiences, you don't need to try the hard way through trial and error and spending another 5-10 years before you can achieve the result you want to achieve. So now we already have a proven method, a proven strategy that can fast track everything for you. And the other thing for the property is quite unique is it has a proven track record for over 100 years. That on average in Auckland property market, the property price doubles every 7 to 10 years. This is keep happening in the last more than 100 years. So we will talk about it in details later on. The other thing is for the fundamental economic supply and demand. We all know that no matter what's the commodity, what's the product we're talking about, if the demand is very high and we don't have enough supply, the price will definitely go up. So this is what's happening in the property market in Auckland. So we will elaborate that in a few minutes as well. So the fact of the life of property. So worldwide, 90% of all of the millionaires created their wealth through owning real estate. Why? Real estate is becoming such a popular investment among all those rich peoples because we are investing in land, and the land appreciates over the time because no one can create more land. So land is a very scarcity resource that we can only utilize that, but we cannot produce more. And the other thing is because we're investing in really good locations, down to there always be three key points when you're investing in property. That is location, location, location. So what that means is the location you put your money in, the location you invest is very important. In the land that you invest in, because it cannot be produced more, so the value goes up over the years. On the other hand, the house, the building itself actually depreciates over time because it's getting older, it's getting, having more wear and tears. You need to maintain the buildings. So the building itself actually depreciates. So this is something you need to bear in mind. When you're investing in a property, don't be, because of human nature, we like the new flash things. This is really attract us to buy some really new things. But down to the property investment, we always invest in the good location and the land, which appreciates the value in the long term. Okay, so this is another example that see how we leverage with other people's money and what will be the difference you can achieve in the same period of time. So this is a very simple one. We're just using this case. We put in two case scenarios, both of them starting with 1 million cash. So hypothetically, you have $1 million in cash where you're ready to put into the property market. So what you can do? So scenario one is you can buy one property with the 1 million cash and with no mortgage. As you all know that the average Auckland property price is around 1 million mark for now. So you can buy an average house in Auckland using all the cash with no mortgage. And because the property price doubles in average 7 to 10 years, let's just say it doubles every 10 years. So after 10 years time, your 1 million worth of property now worth 2 million. And the equity gain you got from that is 1 million. And the second scenario is you can use your $1 million as a deposit and you get the remaining 70% from the bank. So now you can buy three properties in Auckland. So still worth 1 million each, you can buy three of them. And now you get 2.1 million mortgage from the bank, which is other people's money. So still in 10 years time, it doubles in value. So it's from 3 million to 6 million now. And the equity gain you got is, so deducting the mortgage, the equity you got is 3.9 million. So now you can see the difference in the same period of time in 10 years by using that $1 million cash. The difference in the equity gain is 2.9 million, which is a massive, massive figure. So this is how it's very important how you can fast track growing your portfolio, growing your wealth by leveraging, by using other people's money. And the money has never been so cheap for the last 20, 30 years. The Reserve Bank just dropped the OCR rate to 1%. And all the main banks has followed the OCR drop. I think the lowest interest rate we can get now is about 3.55% per year, because all the main banks are coming from Australia. Actually, in Australia, the main banks have dropped the interest rate for 2.99, which is basically just about 3%. So money is very, very cheap out now. How that impact for the property market? So what does that mean if you wanna invest in property? So low interest rate is actually a rent increase because your cost has come down. The interest you're paying to the bank has lowered. That means you have more rent like a more disposable rent after deducting all the cost. And also the low interest rate, that means the term deposit interest rate has been lower as well. So for the people who want to choose the safest way to grow their money, to pack their money into the term deposit in the bank, they are not having really good return at the moment. I think one of the main banks only offering about 1.85 interest rate on the term deposit, which is really not attractive. Well, as New Zealand, we are having an inflation on average about 3 to 3.5% per year. So you're just putting your money into the bank and looking for return. I don't know how far away we are closing to, like a 0% or even negative interest rate. But like if that's the case, like some of the European countries, you need to actually pay the bank to manage your money, rather than giving you interest for using your money. If you use term deposit as your investment vehicle, which is really not a wise way to do that. So what that means is, like in New Zealand, we have more than 1 million baby boomers who has been educated and thinking that putting their money into the bank and getting a term deposit interest is a good way of investment. Now they need to think alternative investment vehicles, because this is no longer a good way. So apart from putting your money into the bank, what's the second safest investment vehicle in New Zealand? It will be residential properties. So if more people taking their money out of the bank and put it into the property market, what that means? That means the property, there'll be more competition in the property market. The demand is even higher, and that will push the price up. So the property is So when the interest rate drops, the rents is less possible to go up, because they often work symbolically. So this is why we are really focusing on the properties in the high demand areas, because in the high demand areas you have professional people working in the area. They need good school zones to send their kids to. They want a good medical care in the society. So there always be people wanna live in those suburbs. So you have a greater ability to adjust your rents in the long term. Okay, so this is the simple graph has been created by Buff and Thompson, which analyzing all the data of the average property price in Auckland way back to 1970s, and it shows how the Auckland property doubles in every 10 years and how that goes in the trend. So as you can see, the property boom normally happens in the 70s, like in 1987. 1997, 2007, and the very last one we just experienced was 2017, which was the top of the property boom. And the recession normally, the recovery normally happens in the twos. So the beginning of the boom happens in the twos. So for the last two cycles, this is 1992, 2002, 2012, and what will be the next one? 2022, which is just about 3 years to go. So if you can see from the graph there, we can see in about 1987, the average Auckland property price is at about 140,000 mark, and then 10 years later, in 1997, the average price is sitting right at about 300 mark. So it's doubled. And 10 years later, in 2007, the average price go up to about 550, so nearly doubled again. And for the last cycle, at the top of the boom, the average price goes to about over 900. So it's doubles again. So this graph shows you that the Auckland property has been doubled in the last few decades, and this the pattern keeps going on. And if you see more detail in this graph, you can see when is the best time to buy in the market, if you're interested. Like the one you can see, the last one, the peak was in 2007, and we have a small dip there in about 2010, and then it's going to the recovery phase, and the boom starts in 2012, and in the next 5 years, it's just shooting to the top. So normally 2-3 years after the top of the boom, it's really the best time to buy in. If you think, when is the last cycle happened? So we just experienced the top of the boom in 2017, and now we are 2 years after that. And we're pretty sure that this is my personal opinion. I think from the spring of 2019, that will be really the starting of the recovery already. So we will see more and more activities in the property market, and we will starting to see the increase in the price again. So if you want to get into the journey in the property investment, now is really the best time to start. This is the fundamental of supply and demand. We all know that in Auckland, we have a huge housing shortage problem. At the moment, we short about 70,000 properties in Auckland. If you think about it, in the last end of boom, which is 2007, we ended last boom with a surplus of 50,000 properties. 10 years later, until the last boom in 2017, we ended the last boom with 70,000 shortage of property. This is 120,000 properties swing in the 10 years period. So we are really facing a real problem here. We're really short of supply in the property market in Auckland. So if we calculate the figure, that's a simple math. We're pretty much short about 38 properties a day, which is no way we can catch up in the short period of time. So this will not be lasting for the next decade or even longer. Apart from the shortage, we are also short of laborers who can build more houses for us. Now we are short of about 9,000 tradies who can help us to build new properties, new real estates. And also we're short of the construction materials as well. So all those things is really slowing down the pace, slowing down how we can catch up and meet the demand in a shorter period of time, which seems not really effective. So can the government really help us? We all know the PV build is really a total failure. The government has tried, but it's not really working the way they thought. So it's gonna take a longer period of time to resolve the problem. And during this period of time, what's gonna happen in the property market? Because of it's a short of supply, because it's a high demand. So there's no brainer, the price will keep going up. Apart from that, is we know in Auckland, we're putting a lot of money into the infrastructures and for the city to grow. In Pinnacle Development Trust, you can see that from Auckland Council's website, we have so many development, construction, and infrastructure projects under the pipeline of the Auckland Council, including in the city center, the city railway, and in Dominion Road, in Onehunga Wharf, and also in Valley Road. So you can see the whole Auckland is pretty much like a construction site everywhere. So when there are more infrastructure being built, what that means? That means more people getting jobs, and then we have more income. Where are they going to put their money? So one way of putting their money in is into the property market. Then they will be creating the property boom. And the other big things that are happening in Auckland is America's Cup is happening in 2021, just in about 3 years' time from now on. Actually, just 2 years to go. And 1 year before that, which is next year, there's the Louis Vuitton Challenger. So what that means is that it brings all the famous, the world-class athletes to come to Auckland come to New Zealand for the competition. It also brings lots of tourists from all over the world come to New Zealand, come to Auckland as well. So we need more accommodations to meet those demands as well. The council has been trying to help to solve the problem by implementing the unitary plan. Unitary plan is trying to releasing more land and also giving higher density of the existing land so we can use it more effectively. So this is because the council is really slow with the new consents, and also the process is really long. So this is not gonna solve the problem in a very short period of time. For Auckland itself, we are one of the big cities in around the world, and Auckland has been ranking always in the top 10 best city to live in. People wanna come here. We have so many good concerts and events happening in the city, make our city more and more attractive. So more people want to come to Auckland. From the statistics New Zealand, we can see that in 2020, the whole New Zealand population will be reaching 5 million. And in 5 years' time, there will be 2 million in Auckland alone. That means another 500,000 increase in population in Auckland alone. So it may sound not quite a big number, but think about it. The second largest city in New Zealand is Wellington, and it took Wellington more than 100 years to reach their current population, which is 460 something thousand, not even 500,000. So we're going to achieve that within the next 5 years, where Wellington took more than 100 years to achieve. So those are the major planned Auckland building projects. You can see the link here, and you can find it from the website. As you can see from the chart there, the things in the blue color, that's the things already started, and the projects in the black colors, those are things in the pipeline. So in total, there will be a planned 74 billion projects in Auckland. So that's a really that's a huge number to be put in the infrastructure. So like I mentioned before, how that will be impacting in the property market. So what creates a property boom? So that means more infrastructure needed because we have more people. We need to build more road, more public transport, everything. So the government and also the personal developers, they're putting a lot of money into the infrastructure. And that means more jobs has been created. And when more jobs get created, people get more disposable income. And house is one way they will put their money in, because people know their money is gonna double in 10 years time if they put in properties. And when more people buy in property, that creates another property boom. So this keeps going as a cycle. This is the property clock. So this means the property cycle works like a clock. So it has its up and downs, and it has its own, you can see the signs and to distinguish where we are at the moment. So if you see the property clock there, we're pretty much at about 5 or 6 o'clock in the current property cycle for now. But this cycle is a little bit different. Many people have said, oh, we didn't really feel this is really a real recession yet. And then we pretty much starting into the recovery phase very soon. Why is that? Is because this recession was not really a real recession. Because normally the recession will be the supply and demand has been met, so they satisfy each other, so the market will be flat until more demand has been created, and then the supply will be short. There will be shortage of supply, so the property boom starts again. And when people providing more supplies, when this meets again, that will be the next end of the property boom. But this cycle, we still have very, very strong demand in the property market. Why it stops people is because it's hard to get money, hard to get lending from the bank. So it's this recession is more like the intervention by the Reserve Bank or by the mainstream banks. People still want to buy, but they can't get the money. But now, like I mentioned earlier in the webinar, that the things has starting to change now. The banks has the interest rate has dropped, and the other more important thing is the bank has reduced their internal testing rate when they're assessing for your borrowing capacity. Previously, even though we have been sitting about sub 4% interest rate for quite a long time, but the bank is still using about 7.5 to 7.8% interest rate when they're assessing your serviceabilities if you can repay the loan. So even though the current interest rate is quite low, but your borrowing capacity is quite very limited. Now the bank has starting to loosen this criteria, and the other way is that there are already two new non-bank lenders entered into the market, which are some of them are only using your actual rate. Say if you're only paying 3.55% interest rate, they were using your actual rate. So there's a huge difference between 7.5 to 3.5 when they're assessing your income. And I just heard from another broker that there's one more lender is planning to come into New Zealand market, and they may launch from November. So there must be something they can see where we can't see yet. They see the properties here, so they want to put more money into our real estate market. They want to get a bigger market shares. So when the lending becomes easier, what's that's gonna do with the property market? There'll be more demand. When people get money, they want to borrow more, they want to buy more. So yeah, so this is why I'm saying if you buy in the bottom of the clock, this is really the best time to buy now, because if you buy now, you can you have the benefit of the whole cycle to go up. You can benefit from the huge capital growth in the next 7 to 10 years. Okay, so that is pretty much I want to cover about today. We have done 2 webinars already, and there are 2 more webinars in the next week and the week after, which will be presented by other coaches of Ronovationz. So yeah, please register if you are interested. And just bear in mind that we are running a property workshop on the 14th of September at LSE Event Center. So we highly recommend book your ticket now before it's sold out, because it's a really hot topic at the moment. If you want to get started now, you need to get an education first. If you think education is too expensive, try ignorance, okay? The most expensive advice are the free advices where you can get from your normal friends or family who don't really know the market. But now you have the chance to learn from the experienced investors who has been there, who has created their financial freedom through doing this day in, day out. Okay, so thank you everyone for joining me today, and we'll be looking forward to see you next week. Thank you.